The European Parliament will vote on tighter regulations for electronic cigarettes today. The Parliament has already decided their consumer products, so won't have the same controls as things like nicotine patches, which are classed as medicinal. However, some MEPs still want them to be regulated on health and safety grounds. We can speak now to the West Midlands MEP, Nikki Sinclaire, from the We Demand a Referendum Now party. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. So you don't want e-cigs reclassified as a medicinal product then? Why is that?
No, because I don't think they are. And the main reason for that is they then get put into this element, the same as any medication, which has to go through very expensive, prohibitive medicinal testing, which, you hear this about new drugs, don't you, that they're incredibly expensive for about 20 years. And that's what will put e-cigarettes into that category. That will make them too expensive for the ordinary person, and therefore, will not be a huge aid as they are currently for people giving up smoking. And Animal Rights Act letters are usually my biggest postbag by far. This has doubled the size of that. The amount of letters that I have got, literally, and I'm not exaggerating, into the thousands of people saying, this is how I gave up smoking. We're not saying we don't want any regulation, because obviously you need some safe regulation, but what the European Parliament seeks to do is really take these off the market by a backhanded way, and I'm totally opposed to that.
When you say they need regulation, you accept that there's no real idea where these things could necessarily come from. They could be coming from all over the place, couldn't they?
Well, what we actually need is our own Parliament in Westminster to do this, and in the legislation there, we can actually vote on e-cigarettes. What's happening this afternoon, which again is indicative of why I'm so opposed to the European Union, is that this vote isn't voted on its own. It's tied in with loads of other incredibly sensible measures about nicotine and smoking. So basically, they've used a spoonful of sugar to make this go down. This was already defeated in the European Parliament when it was voted singularly in October. We voted and we beat this method that they're trying to, and now they're bringing it back, which is your listeners may be aware this is a typical EU thing. If it loses a vote, it tries to bring it through the back door, and this is what's happening, and that's why I'm so opposed to this. It's unnecessary.
Isn't there a danger here, though, that they'll be more attractive to younger generations as a step into smoking if you're treating them as a consumer product?
I do actually think that you're aligning it with smoking, and I don't smoke. I haven't smoked since.
They still have nicotine in there, don't they?
Well, they have minimal, but the people have given up smoking. They've reduced themselves, and not all of them do have nicotine. Actually, people have reduced themselves to zero nicotine. There are ones without nicotine at all, but the main thing is it's a way of, and I've told you more than 1,000 letters I've received this of people saying this is how I eventually gave up smoking, and surely that has got to be a better health result.
But given that they're still a relatively new product, and I think it's accepted that you might not necessarily know the origin of where it came from. Is it not better that whatever it costs, that you do go down the road of making sure that there are tighter regulations on them?
Well, you could say then everything should be tested to medicinal standards, shouldn't you? And in that case, you'd probably take about 30% of all products you'd probably find in our shops off the market. If you go down that's absolutely, that's a bit like the REACH directive that we had in the European Union 5 years ago, which 12.8 million animals were tested on, and actually hasn't done anything. It was a complete waste of time. The European Union do not understand these situations. It's a kind of a one-size-fits-all, and indeed our own Parliament should be regulating this. We should have single votes on this. Just the method. If this was fine and they had absolute evidence on this, they wouldn't be afraid of a single vote on this. Why have they had to put this with other votes, which are very sensible votes, which I would support in another situation?
Maybe it's because they need more evidence.
Well, no, what I'm talking about is they're putting this. They're not allowing us today to vote on this singly. They're out there because they did allow us a single vote on this in October, and the MEPs voted against any regulation. So now they've put it with like cigarette packaging, etc. So we've got to vote on block.
Well, they're called e-cigs, though, aren't they, after all?
Well, that's a marketing thing. The fact is it's vaping. It's not smoking. It's vaping. But I think you're losing the point I'm actually trying to say, is if they feel so comfortable with this, why aren't they allowing us a single vote? Why are they only allowing us a block vote?
What way do you think it's going to go?
How is that democracy? And the other thing really to mention is, you know who the biggest lobby are opposed to e-cigarettes? is the tobacco lobby. Why are the tobacco lobby so opposed to this? And why are the tobacco lobby pushing for this regulation today? It's because the tobacco lobby wants to control this.
So which way do you think this vote will go, Nikki?
Well, it will be passed today because of the reason I gave you, because there are other sensible methods about cigarette packaging, etc. If it was a single vote on its own, just like October, it would be defeated, but it just shows how the European Union works. It's behind doors, stab in the back legislation, which is all what the European Union is about.
Nikki Sinclaire, West Midlands MP.